Castro Art fans, happy Tuesday, happy Taco Tuesday.
I love it.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Art with Castro Art, and I'm so excited. This guy right here, he has influenced my career. He is the GOAT of the culinary world. Such a good dude, dope human being. He is the chef who beat Bobby Flay, and the man, the myth,
Awesome.
the legend,
Thank
Chef
you.
Sam Marvin.
Great to be here.
No, thank you for doing this.
Excited,
I appreciate this, man.
From the day I met you. So, yeah.
This guy influenced my career in a big way, and I'll have another video on that. So Sam, for the peeps watching, what do you got going on? Any projects?
Yeah, so Vegas has been kind to us so far.
Yeah.
So we just opened a second location in downtown Sacramento, which is off the charts right now.
Is it?
It's the really cool city. Like what's going on out there, it feels like Austin 6-7 years ago, Portland 15 years ago.
Wow.
A lot of craft bars, a lot of mixology, a lot of young chefs opening these, little backstreet alley restaurants. Like it's feeling really, the art is bustling in Sacramento right
really?
now. Oh, it's unbelievable. The art movement is, I would probably say the art movement is one of the largest art movements in the United States right now.
Really?
Especially in Sacramento. Yeah, they
I heard there was a mural there. What's the guy? Elvis Presley, I think, or Johnny Cash, or something like that.
Yeah. Oh no, it's Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what I heard.
awesome.
That's
It's
what I heard.
humongous.
Is it?
And it's him walking in his blacks. It's really cool. And then they just purchased a Coons.
Okay.
Right at Doco, so it's called Piglet.
Okay.
Right, so it's all these beautiful colors, and I think they paid. Great story about that, right? Talking about art, right?
For sure.
So they bought it, and they offered $8 million on it, and the final cost was $10 million.
Yeah.
And they decided, struggled on a decision. They ended up buying it for the $10 million.
Okay.
And they were feeling okay about it, and then 2 weeks later, he sold the piece for $36 million. And they think they got the greatest deal in the history of the world, spending $10 million on their piece of art. It's gorgeous. It's in the middle of the center of the whole downtown community, Doco, downtown Sacramento.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
And you got something in
Downtown
California
Commons.
too, right?
Yeah, we just opened a chicken restaurant, which we're excited about.
Yeah.
I just sort of did it to say, it's called Pluck United.
Okay.
So in my way, we're just saying, pluck you to what's going on in the chicken industry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in this industry since I've been a baby, right? Cooking my whole life.
Yeah.
And, 50 years, 45 years to see what goes on in that industry is disgusting.
Yeah.
So, there's 5 companies that control, listen to this statistic, 95% of every egg you eat in America. Every egg, you know how many eggs we eat?
A lot.
And every piece of chicken, from high end to McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
5 companies control 95% of that market.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so they do whatever they want to do, whenever they want to do it. So it was really, us.
You want good quality. You want good quality.
Yeah, so our birds are all pasture raised.
That's awesome.
They come from, 30 miles away on farms. They live normal lives. It's a whole totally different product.
And it's on Carlsbad, right?
Yeah, it's in Carlsbad. Yeah.
Check it out, peeps.
Yeah,
in
by
San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah.
Right by Legoland.
Okay. So really quick, talk about your background. How did you get into being a chef? What was tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was in my DNA. I think that as you see in life that there are tons of people that have just natural talents.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's talent, natural abilities, whether it's playing basketball, whether you're an athlete, whether you're just so smart that you're going to become a physicist, right?
Absolutely.
Those are, a lot of that you don't teach. It's just part of your DNA.
Yeah.
So as a little kid growing up, I was a food kid, right? Like I was age 5. My grandma didn't speak any English at all. She was in her, 90s at the time, 85. And I was like 5 years old, and my parents would go to work, they'd leave me with my grandma, and we were in Hollywood on Romaine Street, and we would walk with her little basket, and she must have been, 4'10".
Little grandma,
Yeah, we'd walk to the farmer's market every day, we'd fill our basket, we'd walk home, we'd clean and prep and cook all day, everyone would come home from work. We'd go to sleep. The next morning, we'd do the exact same thing. We'd go to the market again.
So your passion was being built.
It was.
Slowly.
It was early on. So, I knew what I wanted to do from an early age.
Yeah.
I did a lot of fun stuff cooking. And then I was 18. I said, I'm going to go to France and learn how to cook.
This guy went to France.
Yeah.
And where did you study? Court?
I sort of studied the Cordon Bleu.
Cordon Bleu. So, okay.
Yeah, back then there was only one school.
Okay.
Right? Again, that was 35 years ago.
Okay.
18 kids in my class. It spoke French only. It was a whole different before they franchised their names and things like that. And it was an amazing experience. You know, I thought I'd be there for 2 years. I was there for like 8, 9 years. Just everywhere I would go, I'd learn something new, how to cook, and it was just an amazing cooking experience.
So what's your favorite dish to cook?
So great question. I hear that one a lot. Or what do you like to cook the most, right? For me, it's seafood.
Seafood?
Hands down. Yeah,
Nice.
you know why? I'll tell you why. Because if you think about it, like a pig is a pig is a pig.
For sure.
Or a cow, there's some varietals, don't get me wrong. There's, you know, Megalistas, there's Berkshires, there's Durocs, so there's lots of different varietals of pigs.
Right.
But they're fairly close to having the same bone structure, right? Well, with seafood, there's 300 fish that are eating edible on a daily basis out of the ocean and lakes, and you go everything from a 10-foot, swordfish to a 1.5-inch minnow, right? So to really understand, and they're flat, or they're fat and round, and every skeleton is different. So it really gives you an opportunity to, in a humble way, show off your skill set. Right? So that's why I really enjoyed learning about seafood and fish. Plus, I worked for a guy named Roger Verger at the Moulin de Mougins in France. And it was 3-star Michelin, and it's right there in the south of France on the ocean. And that's where I really learned how to be dealt with fish.
He was your mentor? Or?
He was definitely one of my mentors for sure. You know, it's funny you say that because mentor. So I have at least had, probably 5 mentors.
Really?
Yeah, I think different mentors for me are in different.
Well, you're one of my mentors. This guy's one of my mentors.
I appreciate that, right? And really, that's just a fancy word for saying somebody that inspired you to make yourself better.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, there's been a lot of people, even from my mother and father, right? I don't call them mentors, but in my profession,
for sure.
There's definitely 4 or 5 people that have taught me. Joachim Spichal from Patina just taught me about discipline and structure. Like just bam, right?
100%.
Pierre Gagnère from in France, he's got a restaurant here in Vegas as well. He taught me about. I was in his kitchen one day, and everybody come around him, right? And he made this salad dish, and this is our special tonight, and it was just beautiful, right? First order comes in. The guy in Garde Manger makes a salad dish exactly like Pierre Gagnère showed him how to make it, right? He looks at it and he throws it in the garbage. I don't like it anymore. Well, 5 minutes ago it was perfect. Now you don't like it anymore.
True genius. He's a brilliant genius.
It was unbelievable. And what that taught me was it's okay to be like that. It's okay to make changes all the time, anytime, whenever you want. Right? There should be no ceiling ever on an artist.
Well, the lesson you taught me was don't give up. I don't want to say it, just go for it. And I remember, I never forgot that, and that changed my career.
That's awesome.
So thank you for that.
Someone told me that, for sure.
So really quick, talking about art, what's your experience? I know you travel a lot. Seeing murals, and paintings, and sculptures. What's your experience and connection with art?
It's very inspiring, right? And I'll tell you why. The obvious reason is my profession is called culinary arts. That's the obvious one, right? But what the art that I see, whether it's sculptures that I couldn't have dreamt of in my forever. You could put me in a room for 5 years and say, dream of this, I could have never dreamt of it, right? And they influence me into what I put on the plate, right? It's amazing. Everything is so different that I could take a piece, I saw movement in a sculpture a few years ago, right? That helped me design a sign that has movement in the sign,
That's amazing.
right? It's every part of it, colors, textures. Every time I open a restaurant, so for sure it's not, there's nothing wrong with a lot of these chain restaurants, right? And they're very good, and I go to a numerous of them, right? But the thing is, you could be always sure that if you go to P.F. Chang's in Vegas, it's going to look the same way P.F. Chang's does in Dallas or in Chicago. It's a very strict, diligent looks package, right?
Would you say cookie cutter? Or?
I would say cookie cutter for their cookie cutter, right? That's what they want to look like, right? Well, that's weird for me. That's like how many times can you try to shove a square peg in a round hole, right? So this restaurant, the interior and the feel and the colors is totally different.
You can even see the background.
Everything. It's made, this was created to be part of the desert atmosphere, neighborhood restaurant. Felt like it blends in with the neighborhood, the community, right? Well, Sacramento is a totally different environment, so all the colors are different, the furniture is different. It looks nothing like this restaurant.
So the feng shui, the flow of it is
correct. Everything's totally different.
That's awesome.
So, you know, different. We use a lot of local people. So out there, we're using local florists and local artists. So they're doing differently than the local florists and artists would do in Vegas or wherever we're going to grow. You know, if we open by the beach, we can add some beautiful blues and whitewashes, and you know, it's going to feel like it belongs as opposed to trying to shove that square peg.
Well, this guy does his research. I remember the story you told me, like when you were going to open up a restaurant, you sat there and you clocked people walking through. I remember that.
Yeah, Bottega Louie.
Yeah.
In LA.
In LA.
So yeah, that was my, you know, it's a new concept, right? So you're going to have to cut this or edit it or something, because I could talk forever, right?
No, we'll keep it on.
But what it is for me is it's a whole new way of doing business, right? Just like everything is, right? So if I think about the hotel they just built in Sacramento, and I think about the Waldorf Astoria in New York 145 years ago, well, they did absolutely nothing different than they did a year and a half ago in Sacramento.
Interesting.
Location, you know, design, service, you know, food and beverage, right? And those are the things that make a restaurant, right? The same things: food, service, design, location, a little bit of ambiance, right? Well, that's a little asinine for me to think that in this day and age, when life has changed so dramatically over the last 25, 30 years, it's incredible that you would still be doing the same thing that you did 140 years ago, right?
Like a true artist,
Like, I don't understand that. So I created a whole new idea. So instead of having those 5 basic foundational pieces, my foundation has about 130 pieces. So 5 of those pieces are location, and food and service and design and ambiance, right?
Absolutely.
But those 5 are no less than or no greater than the other 125 pieces, and now you create a new whole. And that's the new foundation. So, you know, it's worked. I have 3 proofs of concept, right? I mean, the first one in LA is going crazy. It's 10,000 square feet.
So it's still there?
It is, yeah. I sold 99.95% of it so I could open my own company, right? And before I even had a part of Bottega Louie, I had to sell that. Let me tell you, being an artist, so my hand to you know, the higher ups, that 2 years before I had the most successful restaurant west of the Mississippi, I was jobless.
Were you really?
I was. I collected my 20 weeks of unemployment at one time, 2 years before.
So that struggling artist.
Oh, it's always been a struggling artist for me, right?
Yeah.
My whole life has been a struggling artist until the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years of my life. But something that goes wrong with struggling artist is that you never feel like you have a job, ever.
For sure. You just love what you do.
It is what you do. It's you. It's right. It's not like I got to go to work today. Or like,
just got to create. I got to create.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I mean, we just finished a new menu change here. We change every 3 months, 4 months, we change 10, 12 dishes. That's
do you visualize the next meal? Like
I do. And you're right when you say visualize, because you know, first I visualize it in my head. And when I talk about those things that you just naturally have, so not only do I visualize it, I know what it's going to look like on the plate. I know if you're going to like it or not.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Right? So that's not going to stop me, because I might put something on a plate that 2 out of 100 people like. That's okay. Pluck them, as we say in the chicken industry, right?
Pluck them. I don't want to do gesture.
Right. No, so awesome, you know, that's not the driver, right? And then I figure it out after that. And if I do 2, 3 times and I see that, okay, I now I know how to get to where I envision it. You know, it's great for me. And then what I do, here's the tricky part, is I teach you how to do it better than I could do it, and then I don't need to worry about it anymore. Right.
So what would you say is your mission now as you stay successful? What is your purpose now, do you feel?
So that's a great question, right? So I feel that there's a lot of purposes, right? In my industry, right? My purpose, you would think, is to pass on, right? Which I do. But I've been doing that since I've been, 10 years old. right? I mean, that's what you do in this industry is you pass knowledge on to people, and once you become mature enough and you can take your ego and not worry about that part of it, and you have all that love and confidence in yourself, at that point now, not only am I passing things on, but I'm definitely want you to be better at it than I am, right? Like that's success for me now, right?
Yes.
So that's important for me. But at the same time, like I know for sure when you talk about that thing inside your head that, look, I'm getting goosebumps, right? You see them, right? Right? I know that you haven't seen my best yet, right? I dream ideas, I dream concepts, just like you probably dream about, you know, paintings that you're going to paint one day, or you're going to, tomorrow I'm going to do this or whatever
and
it is,
never enough
right?
time to finish it,
There's not, right? So I still dream about it, you know? I talked about a new project in Vegas. Well, again, the square peg, round hole, right? Well, a friend of mine, they just were lucky enough to take on a new portfolio in his company, and part of that portfolio is the forum shops and so on and so forth, right? So he came and he's got a little tiny footprint of a space that could be monstrous. But it's small.
Are you a part of this?
Yeah, so you know, he's got a lot of good stuff going on, but there's this one little space. At first he said, how about pluck? Well, you know what, the rents in Caesar's Palace, I'd have to sell 875 sandwiches a day.
That's pretty high, and the chicken itself.
So it wouldn't work, right? A $15 fast food. But then I figured, well, how can I take advantage of that location, right? Instead of putting a square peg again in a round hole, so I created a concept that would fit perfectly into that location.
So is that in motion right now?
It is in motion. We're close to signing the lease. Awesome. We've been back and forth a little bit. And it's exciting,
Do you need any artworks?
Oh, we're going to need a lot of artwork and artists for sure, of different kinds.
So really quick, for the aspiring chefs, what advice would you give to them?
So aspiring chefs, great question. So first I would give the advice of them to really understand what it is to be a chef, right? I can tell you all the things to do to get there, but if you don't want to be there really, and you don't understand what it's going to take, and it's not in your blood, then you should find what's in your blood, right? So the first thing I would say to anyone who says I want to be a chef is really understand what that means. Because what that does mean, it means hard school. For me personally, it's a lot of free work, right? I worked about 3 years of my life in Europe for nothing.
You're paying your
Absolutely.
Dues,
And then in the United States, you come to a minimum wage job. You're going to make, you know, $10 to $12, $13 an hour, and that's going to last for a while, right? So with that understanding, if that doesn't make a difference to you because you love to be a chef, then I would say to go out there and take advantage of everything you can take advantage of. What I mean by that is aspiring young chef, you aspire to be something, right? What do you aspire? You want to be the best seafood guy? You want to learn how to be a best butcher? You want to learn how to cook Italian food better than anybody? Go find those people.
And focus on
find a seafood guy who's going to teach you about fish, if that's what you want to learn. And when you're done learning that, go find a beef guy who's going to teach you about beef, right? And when you're done with that, go see an Italian guy who's going to teach you how to make handmade pasta, right? So aspiring chefs should not be so worried about, right? I don't look at it as a bad thing on resumes. They should not be so worried about working a year to a year and a half at different restaurants, right? For me, I see a guy who comes in and applies for a job and he's been at the same place for 7 years and he shows loyalty. Well, it shows to me no aspiration of learning anything new, getting outside of your box, breaking through your ceiling. I mean, I learn things every day. 3 weeks ago, one of the guys from El Salvador was making a mole sauce in Sacramento for a family meal. Well, I know about mole sauces. I'm telling you, I never tasted anything like this before.
It was good?
Forget about it. The next day I had him come in early. We made it together. I learned how to make it step by step by step. Now I guess me learning things, right? Everybody can learn every day. It's just putting yourself in the opportunity, allowing yourself to, you know, take that in. As long as you keep learning You'll never grow old in this business for sure, right?
Amen.
It's
Amen,
awesome.
brother.
Yeah, get as
Well,
much experience as you can.
Well, thank you, Chef Sam, for taking the time
Perfect.
to talk with me, and
I love
really
it.
appreciate. I love you, man. Thank
And
you
your
so
art
much.
is unbelievable.
Oh, come on,
you
man.
know it. Now I have 2 pieces. Thank you for my new piece.
Of course, of course.
And we're going to do a
we're
lot
gonna-
more
we're gonna have
stuff
another
together.
project together. I know
Oh,
we
we
are.
are for sure. Real soon, I promise.
All right. So thank you guys
Awesome.
for watching.
Thank you very much.
Peace.